G'day guys, in this video we're going to do a teardown and instruction of how to clean our PondMAX PF series filters. We're going to undo our hose tails, which unscrew, all plastic fittings, so just finger tight. Now each one of these is going to have an O-ring. Make sure that you keep that aside, that's very important, don't drop it in the garden. So you can take that out. Take our other one. So you're going to have some ribbed pond hosing going into this most likely, O-ring, which is why we need those off. What we have is a locking clamp on the side. There's a little bit of plastic here that can swing open, and then our handle, just pull back slightly and our locking clamp will come off. Alrighty. It's going to slide straight out. You're most likely going to have a lot of dirt and debris, so when you're lifting it, just take care. You don't want to be pulling this thing out because it can get a bit of suction. Really slowly, sometimes a little jiggle back and forward if it hasn't been cleaned for a while. So this is our main filtration for our pond. First thing we have is a bit of a lock at the bottom here, which will untwist. Take that off. And we also have one screw that we need to undo. So you will need some tools for this. You need a screwdriver. I'm a bit lazy, so I have a powered one here. So we have our screw and a washer as well. Very important to keep both of those aside. This is our base plate. That can come off. You'll often get a little bit of debris in the bottom here. That can just be rinsed off with a hose, no problems. Just put that off to the side. So now we have access to our sponges. We have two types of sponges here. Our yellow ones are a finer sponge, which will take out smaller particles. Our blue ones are a little bit coarser, so they'll be taking out some bigger particles. One thing to note, the top sponge is always missing one of these plastic bits, so that's how you can indicate that this is the top one to go in. Alrighty, once we have our sponges out, we can head over and give them a bit of a clean. So usually I like to use pond water. Take a bucket of pond water and use that to clean these sponges. If you can help it, stay away from the hose, as the chlorine can affect your bacteria a little bit. Okay, so to take apart our sponges, we have a plastic ring here with some little clips on the side. So we want to just clip that. I usually just pull it out and it will pop off, and this front ring will come out, and you can slide your sponge right off. That way you can take it to a bucket, give it a good rinse out and get rid of all the dirt and debris that's in the centre. Do that for each of your sponges. They don't need to be pristine clean, just enough that water can now flow through them freely. And then to put this back on, just clip it back into place. So inside here we have a few parts. We have our backwash paddle. So when we spin our backwash handle, what is happening is this paddle is rotating, and it's going to be sitting inside the grooves of our sponges, and in turn is going to actually turn the sponges. So this is what's happening when we backwash it. The reason we need to do a manual clean out every now and then, the backwash typically only gets this outer ring and leaves the inside untouched. So over time, every few months or so, maybe 6 to 12 months, we do recommend you take it out and give it a good clean to get those centre parts. The other part we have is our centre column here, and this houses our UV globe, which we'll get into that a bit later. Alright, also as part of our filter, we have some biological media. So these are plastic bio balls with a high surface area. These are used to grow beneficial bacteria, which is going to break down waste in our pond. So really, really cool part of this filter. So we've got our mechanical filtration and a little bit of bacterial with the sponges, and then solely bacterial filtration in our bio balls. One other important part is our main O-ring, which is going to sit in between our head and our body. So once we've got all that cleaned out, we can start putting it back together. So remember our sponge from earlier with the missing plastic at the top, that's going to go number 1. So we slide that over all the way at the top. The side that we unclip, this is typically the side I like to put up first. So we alternate colours until all of our sponges are in. Okay, once our sponges are in, we can put our base plate in. We need to line up a few holes. So we have our backwash rod. We also have a small hole here that is going to go over it. And then our large hole is going to sit over our centre column. So you can see that is coming through there. And we just need to pull on that a little bit to get it all to line up. It should be sitting nice and flush in the centre there. We could then put our bottom lock in. Plastic fitting, so just finger tight is perfectly fine. And we also can put our screw and washer back in there as well. And make sure we have our bio balls in the bottom. We can flip this up and slide it straight in. We want to make sure that we have our O-ring in between. It's nice and clean. It is also a good chance to re-lubricate that. We do sell aquatic safe lube here, so we can dry it up, a little bit of that on the O-ring, and it will keep it from cracking and drying out over time. So once that's on, just a very gentle push, and you should feel it seat into place nicely. So we've put our clamp aside from earlier. Now it should line up. When you're putting this clamp on, there should be very little gap there. If there's a big gap like this, it means that it isn't actually seated into the O-ring properly. So when you put that clamp on, it needs to be pretty close like that. That's how you know you got it in the right spot. And then you can push your handle over. It should go in quite easy. If you're having to really force it, something may not be in the right spot, so you have to adjust it. And then we can put our clamp over the top like that. Alright, so the great thing with these filters is if something does break, there is replacement parts for just about everything. We can get new hose tails, UV globes, we have new sponges, you can get just the support braces as well. These centre columns, that was the part in the middle, if you get any cracks over time, if a few years down the line, they can be replaced as well. And the UV housing, if any water does happen to get in there, all of that can be replaced. So you don't have to get a brand new filter every time something goes wrong. So if there's any ever dramas, give us a call, we can help you out for sure, or look online, you'll see those parts as well.